And welcome everyone to the South Huron Council meeting, June 16th, 2025. Welcome all the firefighters and their families that are here this evening. It's a full house. We're proud of each and every one of you. We'll go to amendment onto the budget under item staff report 10.3.3, so everyone knows that that's on the agenda. We'll call this meeting to order and ask everyone to make sure that their cell phones are turned off. The only exception is fire pages are excluded from that. They're to remain on. So we'll call this meeting to order and ask everyone to rise for O Canada, please. Please be seated. Again, welcome everyone to the South Huron Council meeting, and we welcome those that are joining us in the comfort of their home from Zoom. And we're very pleased and fortunate to have the gallery full of professional volunteer firefighters and their families this evening. We'll begin this meeting with our land acknowledgement. As we gather, we are reminded that the municipality of South Huron is situated on Treaty 29 land that is steeped in rich Indigenous history and home to First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people today. And as a community, we have a responsibility to honor and respect this territory's significance for the Indigenous peoples who lived and continue to live upon it, and whose practices and spiritualities were tied to the land and continue to develop in relationship to the territory and its other inhabitants today. In the spirit of reconciliation and truth, we acknowledge the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee peoples on whose traditional territory we are meeting. And I would turn this to Ms. Sue Carlson, number 3, please.
That South Huron Council approves the agenda as presented.
And a mover, please. Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor McLeod-Haggett. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? That carries with 7. Thank you. Disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Are there any disclosures at this time? And not seeing any. Thank you. And we'll move to 5.1. And as I say, we're very proud to have the fire department here this evening. So I will just welcome all of you. And tonight we are gathered to recognize and express our deepest gratitude to our brave professional volunteer firefighters who've dedicated years and even decades to protecting our communities. These patriotic heroes have selflessly placed themselves in harm's way countless times to protect all of us, our families, and even complete strangers. And while others are running away from danger, you're the ones running towards it. Being on call 24/7 is a demanding responsibility that only the most elite patriot will choose to pursue while still balancing their work and family lives. We are a better place because of your loyalty, and of course we are eternally grateful that your family shares the same passion. It is actually quite admirable. Tonight, as we reflect on your years of courage, let us be reminded of the sacrifices each of you have made without hesitation. Although I'm not able to explain why you do it, I can tell you that I and the rest of South Huron are proud that you do, because life would be drastically different for all of us without each and every one of you and your families. And we as a community need to continue to support our patriotic heroes, as the risks by not doing so are too many to contemplate. And when we consider that 85% of all firefighters across Canada are professional volunteers, we in South Huron are so thankful to have the very best of them. So members of council, staff, and members of the public, before I turn this over to Chief Becker, would you please join me in thanking these incredible heroes and their families properly?
Good evening, Mayor Finch, South Huron Council, South Huron firefighters, families and guests in the gallery. It is with great pleasure that we can be here tonight to honor and thank our South Huron firefighters for their years of service awards. Tonight, there are 10 significant milestones in which we will recognize from 5 to 30 years of service. Not only do we recognize the firefighters for their service, but we also need to thank and recognize their families. The families are the ones that pay the biggest price. You're all aware of the time it takes to commit to the ever-changing fire service. Hundreds and hundreds of hours committed to training, let alone the unpredictable emergency responses. We are fortunate to have some of the best equipment in the industry and the most up-to-date PPE, and we acknowledge Council for their continued commitment. As well as our years of service awards, I would also like to recognize excuse me, our last recruit class for completing their mandatory certification training. Over the last 6 months, 6 of our recruits worked extremely hard, studying with homework, many weekends away from families, training hard to complete their certifications. Last weekend saw 6 of our recruits write all of their certification tests and practical tests at the Central Huron Fire Station in Clinton. I was present last weekend to assist in the process and to see all 29 Huron County recruits complete this testing process. This was the first time to have a county recruit class. Things worked very well, and we can't wait for the next one. I also, excuse me, had the honor last week to attend Lambton College to watch South Huron firefighter Robin Denemy graduate with her NFPA certifications. It was a true honor. So at this time, could the following firefighters please stand and come down? We're going to take a picture to officially acknowledge you and thank you for completing the first step, first of many of your mandatory certifications. Jesse Blaine, Austin Baker, Brady Brown, Robin Denemy, Zach Desjardins, Brooke Gielan, and of course, Sarah Houston. This group of fine young people came together. Some knew each other, some didn't, and performed amazing and have done everything they need to do to move on to the next step. So I want to thank you guys all for that. These are only a small number of the firefighter certifications that firefighters are currently working on. Like I said, this is the first step, and there's many more. We've had pump operators, we've had officer certification, and over the last year, Andrew Snedden sitting behind me completed his officer certification, James Yates as well, and James is working on his pump certification. So, and hazmat, I don't know, you got an endless list of certifications you're doing. You're a very busy man, and I want to thank you all for that as well. So thanks, guys. We'll take a quick pic with the mayor, and then we'll move on to the service awards. And now on to our service awards. I will now turn the mic over to Deputy Chief Herbert to call the names, and Mayor Finch and I will present the years of service awards. When the awards are presented, we will take a photo with the recipient, and then if any respective family members wish to join in, or the state district chief or assistant chief from Exeter as well. Once the awards presentation is complete, you will be then free to go.
If his family would like to come down and take a picture. Jason Moss, he has 10 years of service. Unfortunately, Jason is expecting a baby and is unable to attend tonight. So congratulations, Jason Moss. I'd like to call next is Braden Talbot for his 10 years of service. Ben Case, 10 years. Unfortunately, Ben is unable to join us tonight due to work. Give him a round of applause. Next on our list, 15 years, Sam Daters. Come on up. Another 15-year award winner here, Tom Griffith. Come on up, buddy. I'd like to call on next is James Yates, 15 years of service. Okay, we're going to move up a couple years. Brad Anchors, 20 years of service. Your dad would be very proud of you, buddy. Okay, we're going to go up 10 more years. Tim Moore, 30 years of service. Congratulations. Okay, and now I'd like to call on our CAO to present the final service award with Mayor Finch to our fire chief, Jeremy Becker, 30 years. Let's go. Come on, let's go.
Okay, everyone, that was a good presentation, and we thank all our firefighters. What you witnessed there today was true heroism and a lot of dedication from all our members. So we're very truly fortunate to have them in our lives. Going to item number 6, there are no delegations, and number 7, there's no public meeting. 8.1, please.
That South Huron Council adopts the minutes of the regular council meeting of June 2nd, 2025 as printed and circulated.
And a mover, please. Councillor Need moves, seconded by Councillor Oak. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Thank you. 9, please.
That the minutes of the following committees and or boards be received as presented to council. The Exeter Business Improvement Area, BIA, minutes of May 20th, 2025.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Vaughn, second by Councillor McLeod Haggett. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carries with 7. Thank you. 9.2.
That South Huron Council receives the Exeter Rodeo minutes, committee minutes of March 26, 2025, and draft minutes of May 28, 2025. And that South Huron Council approve the recommendations of the Exeter Rodeo Committee as follows. That the BIA manager and Dennis Gower, non-voting members, be appointed as voting members. And that the following revisions be made to the Exeter Rodeo Committee's terms of reference. The committee membership composition be 6 to 20 members, and a minimum of 6 members shall be identified for the purposes of quorum and have voting privileges. And a clause be added to clarify that non-voting members can be appointed as voting members by the committee. And that proceeds from the Exeter Rodeo event shall be used to maintain a reserve for the next year's rodeo and for capital projects, programs, and or projects completed within the municipality of South Huron by registered and non-registered charities and or not-for-profit organizations that support the community of South Huron based on the recommendations from the Exeter Rodeo Committee.
And a mover, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor McLeod Haggett. Any discussion? Councillor Oak, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I was wondering if we could split this recommendation, please, and have the first part down to the voting and non-voting members and voting members. Put that in the first recommendation and then have the last paragraph as a second recommendation.
Very well. I'll turn to the clerk, Madam Clerk, to read that so we know what we're voting on.
Councillor Oak called for a split, so the resolution would be that South Huron Council receives the Exeter Rodeo Committee minutes of March 26, 2025, and draft minutes of May 28, 2025, and that South Huron Council approve the recommendations of the Exeter Rodeo Committee as follows: that the BIA manager and Dennis Gower, non-voting members, be appointed as voting members, and that the following revisions be made to the Exeter Rodeo Committee's terms of reference. The committee membership composition be 6 to 20 members, and a minimum of 6 members shall be identified for the purposes of quorum and have voting privileges. And a clause be added to clarify that non-voting members can be appointed as voting members by the committee.
Thank you. And it's been so moved and seconded. So
Yep.
we will leave it there. Now we'll call the question on that part. Any discussion? Go ahead.
Just some clarity with our appointment bylaw. Like, how is this specifically the clause added to clarify that non-voting members can be appointed? That can already occur, but it, as a committee of council, it still has to come to council for final approval. That does not necessarily change our appointment process, does it?
Madam Clerk?
Through the chair, so to provide some clarification, the Exeter Rodeo Committee is the only committee of council that has voting and non-voting members. There is to fill vacancies for committees, citizen appointments. There is a committee recruitment policy that has to be followed. So just to provide clarification that a non-voting member who's already been appointed as a non-voting member can fill that voting member vacancy without having to go through this committee recruitment policy. That's what they're looking to achieve there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions at this time? Okay, not seeing any. We have a mover and a seconder on this part of the motion. I'll call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Thank you. Madam Clerk, if you could read the recommendation for the final.
So the second one is that the following revision be made to the Exeter Rodeo Committee's terms of reference, and that is that the proceeds from the Exeter Rodeo event shall be used to maintain a reserve for the next year's rodeo and for capital projects, programs, and/or projects completed within the municipality of South Huron by registered and non-registered charities and/or not-for-profit organizations that support the community of South Huron based on the recommendations from the Exeter Rodeo Committee.
So it's been so moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on that? Counselor Vaughn.
Yes, thank you for that. I'm just looking at the first part of this recommendation that the proceeds from the Exeter Rodeo event shall be used to maintain a reserve for the next year's rodeo. I think that's consistent with how we've basically handled the rodeo from year to year. And I think that it's really commendable that the financial position, at least in many recent years, has shown itself to be financially sustainable. So that's good from the perspective of we're not really leaning heavily on taxation dollars. So I like all of that, and I'm totally for that part of the resolution. But the second part, which really talks to giving the giving the committee an opportunity to recommend how we might spend the so-called profits from that. I'm not in favor of that. I'm thinking in terms of any of the profits should go into the reserve, that's fine, but should not become a determiner of what our priorities actually are around the council table. I'm not saying they don't have good ideas. I'm just saying I think it's council's business to determine what are the priorities of the day and not individual committees. So I don't support that part of the resolution.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Deputy, go ahead.
Thank you. And I guess these recommendations still have to come back and go through council. We can't, as a committee, cannot determine where this goes. We're just doing as a recommendation, and then the recommendation comes back to council. Is that not correct?
Madam Clerk?
Through the chair, so that's correct. The current terms of reference do provide that proceeds from the Exeter Rodeo event would be used to maintain a reserve for the next year's rodeo and for recreation projects in South Huron with recommendations from the committee. So the committee can make recommendations to council. It is within council's final discretion on whether or not to accept those recommendations.
Thank you. Counselor Oak.
Yeah, and it's been a great thing that we've been able to build up the reserves. I was on council early days and we didn't have that reserve because there had been a couple rainy years and we were not the attendance, and so things weren't as good. So it's nice to see that. I guess my concern is we've made a concerted effort as council to get out of the grant giving business. And we've put money towards Sunset Foundation, the Community Sunset Foundation, and have a South Huron fund. I just don't want to have money that now all of a sudden we're getting back into the community grant program because somebody's recommending a grant from proceeds from the rodeo to an organization or whatever. We're getting back into the community grant business. And I know so that's my biggest fear. There's recreation things that currently can be recommended. I know one of the things I'd love to see is like mobile or portable bleachers, because they're renting them now. Why don't we buy some so that they can be used year round for other events as well if they want to put money into the community for recreation. So those are just some of the ideas. I just don't like the fact that they're coming back with these recommendations and then it puts council in a tough spot to make a yay or nay on these kind of things as well. So
Councilor McLeod Haggett, I see you going there.
So
and you guys may not know the answer through this, but approximately what amount would we be talking about?
Okay. Aaron, would you be able to provide that, Ms. Moore?
Through the chair, the current balance in the rodeo reserve unaudited for 2024 is $89,000. So if you want a little bit of history, so in 2024, again, unaudited, there was a surplus for the rodeo of $400. In 2023, there was a deficit for the rodeo of $1,200. And in 2022, there was a surplus of $34,000.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Councilor McLeod-Haggett.
So I would like to see that I know that we're not in the grant giving, but there are quite a few volunteers that give a lot of time to the rodeo. And there are a lot of organizations in our community and members of our community that attend this rodeo to make it so successful. I think that we should give the committee the respect of presenting to us where they think that a small donation of some sort should be given, just to thank them for their work for this, because it is a lot of work, and they seem to work together on who they are thinking would be a good recipient for each year.
Thank you. Any other comments? Deputy.
Thank you. And I guess we also have to remember, this is not taxpayers' dollars. This is fundraised money that is being spent here. So I guess I would like to see the committee come back with recommendations to council. Council can turn down where it goes, what happens then. But I think, with all due respect to that committee, they've earned a lot of money and they've spent a lot of time. And I think they should have an opportunity to say where that goes. Thank you.
Councilor Neeb and then Councilor Oak.
There's a few items that go along with the rodeo that probably should be talked about. One of them is it's a municipal line item that we go over, as well as there's a lot of municipal staff work that goes into that event. We also have a lot of volunteers that contribute their time to the event as well. The word proceeds, I think the previous time a council was approached about donating money towards some of these organizations, the word was surplus. And I think that's something maybe we should be looking at if we wanted to move forward, is the idea of a surplus after taking into account the budget for the next year. The other thing to go along with the grant business, that's been something that this council has discussed. Perhaps any of the surplus after the budget for the next year goes into the community foundation, as opposed to council or the committee picking specific organizations. We hand it over to the foundation, who has a better idea of what the needs are in the community. So that's, from my perspective, I'm okay with the surplus going, but I think we need to take into account as well the amount of staff time that goes into this event. I don't think I've seen a budget from the rodeo that accounts for the hours and hours of staff time. So from my perspective, if moving forward, that should be reconciled in the budget. And then again, if there's a surplus after that, I think it would be great if we could put it towards some community initiatives, considering that volunteers have also contributed time.
Any other comments? Councilor Oak.
Yeah, and just in response to Deputy Mayor Dietrich's comment about the reserve that's not taxpayers' dollars, the original 40,000 was a commitment from council for taxpayers' dollars when it first started as a line item, that 40,000 for the rodeo contract. And since then, there's been from there, the profits have been gone into the reserve, but there was an initial $40,000 line item for the rodeo that was taxpayer dollars.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, not seeing. I'm going to speak to this, Jim. Take the chair. Thank you. For me, I'm going to support what's been brought forward. This is a cost of doing business, quite honestly. It's going to be benefiting the community at large. It's a very unique situation as a committee under council, but I have to say we have some very, very responsible volunteers, including our deputy mayor who's been on that for how many years, I don't know. And they invest a lot of their own time and energy, and I'm sure their own funds into this year after year, and they don't even complain about it. So this is an example of us supporting these volunteers. And again, like the deputy said, it's a recommendation coming back to this council to decide whether or not we agree with what these responsible volunteers are asking of us. So I know we had something come forward a year or two ago and it was turned down. I think this is a very responsible way of responding and making more flexibility for the committee. So I will be supporting it. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Not seeing any. Okay, then we will go to call the question. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. Opposed? Okay, that carries. Thank you. Next item, staff reports, 10.1.
That South Huron Council received staff report BPS 07-2025, pre-servicing agreement for phase 1 of the Windermere Communities Limited Development. And that South Huron Council approves the pre-servicing agreement with Windermere Communities Limited Development, and that the bylaw be forwarded to council for the required 3 readings.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, seconded by Councillor Oak. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Thank you. 10.2.1.
That South Huron Council received staff report CSD 06-2025, the annual broader public sector BPS energy reporting for 2024 for information.
And a mover, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Oak. Any discussion? Councillor Neeb, or sorry, Councillor Dietrich, go ahead.
Thanks you to the mayor. I know we did this last year, but who benefits from this BPS report? Like, is that ministry or is that Energy and Hydro One or Enbridge and Hydro One?
Does anyone wish? Stacy, go ahead. Sorry.
Through you, Mayor Finch. Great question. So the province actually collects this data across the province, and what it is used then to inform where they need to have efforts for, let's say, energy efficiency or funding. So they do collect all of the data across the province.
And do they give us a grant for this, or?
If we apply for a grant, potentially. There are no grants specifically tied to us reporting, but potentially the ministry will put out grants.
Like, you can just ask for whatever building here, there, whatever, and they'll give you a grant for that, or is this for the whole system?
It'll have to be dependent on the grant programs, right? Based on what the government decides they wish to grant, but they do utilize all of the data across the province for specific building types. So all of our data is linked to the type of building. So streetlights, for example, there have been grants in the past for streetlights. So they utilize the data across the province that way.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Oak, you had something? Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. And thanks, Stacy, for putting this together on our behalf. Was there any surprises that you find in the report? Myself, it was a surprise when I look at, certain things that I thought, like the Stephen workshed and the Usborne workshed, that there's more hydro used at the Stephen workshed than the Usborne one. And I thought there's more people at one versus the other. So I just was curious if there's any surprises that you've seen.
Through you, Mayor Finch. So truly the numbers are the numbers. I'm not an energy expert, and I will publicly say that. The program that we use spits out, so it takes all of our utility billing and then spits it out and tags it to each facility. But what we can do is look a little bit into the numbers in the program. So I did actually pull the Stephen workshed versus the Usborne. You'll note that the increase in electricity was the winter months, which could be explained by, again, this is just my opinion and speculation based on chatting with Shane Timmermans, manager of transportation, that potentially that shed is heated by electrical baseboard heaters. the lunchroom and break room and office are on the west side, so we had a very cold winter. So that could be the explanation as to why it's higher. Previous years, it actually was the reverse. So Osborne was higher than Stephen. But what we do know is looking at the numbers, it's very variable in terms of weather. It also is dependent on the building envelope and insulation and the usage. And some of those changes seasonally as well. So energy experts would be able to actually dig deeper into the data, but really all we can do is look at the numbers that we have and some of that information that we have. But truly no surprises. So we compare each year, we'll compare to the previous few years just to make sure that the numbers are within the range and that we're not missing anything or something isn't, a piece of equipment isn't running more than it should, things like that.
Great. Deputy.
Thank you. Just a couple of questions, and I think I know the answer, but I want to confirm. Credit and Community Center, the electricity, is that because of the lights? Because I noticed between Dashwood and Credit, and it's huge electricity.
So through you, Mayor Finch, unless you actually dig deeper into the actual components of the building, I'm not able to.
Okay.
Potentially it could be, but because I don't know the building as well, I don't know if Jeremy, if you can provide input, it is hard to say for that one.
Thanks.
Great. Oh, Deputy, go ahead.
Sorry, one more. The fire station in Huron Park, do we have it heated?
Through you, Mayor Finch, no, it's not heated, but there is still hydro to the building. That's the only service that building still has.
Sorry, I was looking at the natural gas.
Through you, Mayor Finch, no, the natural gas was disconnected. And this will be 2024, so there probably will be some usage until that was disconnected.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions? Okay, we have a mover and a seconder. If there's no further discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor? And it carries a 7. Thank you. 10.2.2.
That South Huron Council received staff report CSD 08-2025, South Huron Recreation Center Baseball Diamond Light Replacement Tender Award, and that South Huron Council accepts the tender received from KWS Electrical Services in the amount of $248,682, excluding HST.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, seconded by Councillor McLeod-Haggett. Any discussion? Councillor Dietrich, go ahead, please.
Thank you to the mayor. The existing lights there, did you just go into the dump or Zubik's or someplace, or can you use them again?
Ms. Johnson is here to answer any questions.
Through the mayor. So at this point, we will be disposing of them, taking them down and disposing of them. The concrete base will actually be left as a bit of a cost savings measure. The actual poles, some have a slight lean to them, and there's some erosion on them, so they will be disposed of.
I noticed the other day I was going through Dashwood, they still have their lights up there. Are they going to be coming down someday, or did you use them, or what's the deal on them?
Chief, would you be able to respond?
Yes, through you, Mayor Finch, if we are fortunate enough to get our fire station built there, those will come down along with the fence.
And they won't be used either? They'll be Zubik material?
That's correct. They have a certain lifespan and they tend to not re-erect poles like that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Oak.
Just wanted to congratulate staff on coming almost $200,000 under budget on these lights. So well done. I always like to see those kind of numbers on projects. So yeah, it's good to see that there are aggressive bidders, it seems like, out there in the market. So well done.
Great. If there's no further questions, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Thank you. 10.3.1, please.
That South Huron Council received staff report ESD 11-2025, the 2024 annual South Huron landfill status report for information.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, seconded by Councillor Oak. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Oh, Councillor Oak, you had a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, just one question. It did refer to in the report that it said the majority of the fence was done. I I thought in my mind that the whole fencing of the property had already been done in a two tender span sort of thing, that we did two parts. But the report said the majority of the fencing has been done. So has it all been done now?
Hey, Alyssa, how are you? Welcome. Can you
Thank
answer
you.
that question, Ms. Keller?
Yeah, through you, Mayor Finch. That rest of the fencing has not been completed. From my understanding, it's in a very wet marshy area, which makes the fence unstable and hard to keep there. So that's the current dilemma on that area.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Not seeing any. We have a mover and a seconder. Call the question. All in favor? Carries with 7. Thank you. Next item, please. 10.3.2.
That South Huron Council received staff report ESD 12/2025, the results of the 2025 DWQMS internal audit.
And a mover, please. Deputy Mayor moves, seconded by Councillor Neeb. Any discussion? Councillor Oak, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I just like to thank staff. Took part in the management review, and it was a great morning spent, well thought out process, and thank you for including me in the process. It was well done.
Great. Any other questions, comments? Not seeing any. Call the question. All in favor? Carries with 7. Thank you for that. 10.3.3.
That South Huron Council received staff report ID 06/2025, the results of the 2025 request for proposals for engineering services. And that council accepts the proposals received from BM Ross and Associates Limited and authorizes the award of the professional services contract to BM Ross and Associates Limited for engineering services related to, number 1, design approvals, tendering, contract administration, and inspection services for the Main Street South reconstruction, Asable River to Victoria Street, in the amount of $117,675 plus HST. And 2, design approvals and preparation of a tender for repairs to B-line structure number 1098 and Grand Bend Line water main upgrade in the amount of $36,492 plus HST, and future services for tendering, contract administration, and site inspection in the amount of $56,711 plus HST, subject to council approval of a future budget. And 3, an inflow and infiltration reduction study in the amount of $105,423 plus HST. And that council approves an amendment to the budget to increase the capital budget for the repairs to B-line structure number 1098 from $9,667 to $12,211.20, and authorizes the use of the transportation capital reserve in the amount of $2,554.20 to fund the additional project costs due to unforeseeable price increases.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, seconded by Councillor Dietrich. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? That carries with 7. Thank you. 10.4, please.
That South Huron Council received staff report CR 04/2025, Community Safety and Wellbeing, CSWB, for Huron Plan Review Report, June 2025, and that the revised Community Safety and Wellbeing for Huron Plan be approved and submitted.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor McLeod Haggett, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Any discussion? Councillor Oak.
Yes, I'd just like to thank the committee members. That farm safety is now included there on the radar for future, knowing that agriculture is our largest industry. And just the years ago, I was part of a farm safety association in working for the Ministry of Ag and Food on a committee at different counties. And that sort of has gone by the wayside with the ministry removing of some of the extension offices, and I'm glad it's back on the radar that because farm safety and kids safety camps and those kind of things are important for the community safety as well.
Thank you. Deputy.
Thank you. I'd just like to thank Stacy. She's put a lot of work into this, and Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stacy. Thanks to all our staff, of course. Any other comments? Councillor Vaughn, go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you. I think we've done some terrific work in terms of raising awareness on some of these priority issues. When I was going through the actual report, I did notice that the comment that there's been 165 respondents across the county of Huron, as well as I believe it was suggesting that from the various members of the oversight committee also potentially gave some input. I don't know if they were in the surveys or not, but my thinking was 165 respondents for a population base of 60,000 is not really very representative. And so I know surveys are difficult to bring people to the table and to fill them out, but I'm just wondering if for helping in terms of determining priorities for the future and what the true needs may be, if there's some work also going on for how do we reach out a little bit more to the community members to bring those numbers of survey numbers up, because it is only 0.275% of our total population. And I think maybe we're missing getting the opinions from across the population base.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? You're not seeing it. Oh, do you have something, Stacy?
Yeah, through you, Mayor Finch. So I can kind of speak to that as well. The survey did reveal that we still have some work to do to educate the public on community safety well-being for Huron, to really educate that it exists and the work that's being done. But we did acknowledge that the survey responses weren't, as great as we had hoped. But what we did was leverage the experts around the table as well. So we have over 35 members on the oversight committee. So we utilized all of the data collected, all of the responses, and then truly look to the experts in those fields to then determine what is a priority that they're seeing. And some of them already had their own survey results or things like that. So we also acknowledge people are surveyed out, right? You do a survey, it goes away, what's happening with it. So, but definitely the survey revealed some really great things that we can work towards, and spreading the word is one of them.
Councillor.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Stacy. Okay, then we have a mover and a seconder. If there's no further discussion, we'll call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Thank you for that. 10.4.2.
That South Huron Council received staff report FIN 10-2025, the 2025 Asset Management Plan, and that Council adopts the Asset Management Plan 2025 as presented, and that the financial strategy recommended in the 2025 Asset Management Plan be considered during 2026 budget discussions.
And the mover, Councillor Need moves it, seconded by Councillor McLeod Haggett. Any discussion? Oh, Katie, have the presentation? Sorry. Go ahead. Yep.
Thank you. I'll just wait till Alex gets it up there. Here's a different PowerPoint. Do you want me to resend it to you? Perfect, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm going to provide a brief overview of the next steps following the 2025 Asset Management Plan completion. After the 2025 Asset Management Plan is completed and adopted, our priorities will shift and staff will begin identifying areas for improvement in our asset database and continuously monitoring and improving asset management best practices. Listed on this slide are the legislative requirements from OREG 58817 for all municipalities. First off, starting with the Strategic Asset Management Policy for South Huron, which was completed on March 4th, 2019. This policy was put in place to coordinate planning for asset management. The purpose is to set direction and development of asset management plans and how South Huron will improve the asset management planning practices over time. The Asset Management Plan for 2021 contains all core assets and was completed on April 6, 2021. The 2021 plan included current levels of service, inventory analysts, life cycle activities to sustain levels of service, and cost of life cycle activities. Also, population and employment forecasts and discussion on growth impacts for core assets only. The Asset Management Plan for 2024 contains everything from the 2021 plan, including the non-core assets, and that was completed on June 17, 2024. This plan is for all municipal infrastructure assets. The Strategic Asset Management Policy was reviewed and updated in the beginning of 2025. The updated version is on our website. Again, the purpose of this policy is to set direction in the development of asset management plans and how South Huron will improve the asset management planning practices over time. The Asset Management Plan for 2025 is in the approval process. This plan includes the proposed levels of service for all assets, identification of proposed levels of service for the next 10 years, and what activities will be required to meet the proposed levels of service, followed by a strategy to fund these activities. Ontario Regulation 58817 requires the Strategic Asset Management Policy and the Asset Management Plan to be reviewed and updated if necessary every 5 years, including annual progress reporting. Next slide, please. It is important to remember that the asset management plan is a living document and represents a snapshot in time and is based on the best available data and information at the municipality. Asset management planning is an ongoing and dynamic process that requires continuous improvement and dedicated resources. The asset management plan needs to be consistently updated with new status and conditions, recording and reviewing South Huron's levels of service and their performance, the risks associated with the assets that is not in fair or better condition, which all relates to determining life cycle management and replacement costs of the assets. Next slide, please. Staff's goal is to review all the data that is currently in our database by each asset category and department and make corrections while continuing to update our system with additional condition assessments. Listed here are a few examples of the upcoming projects. We will be creating a timeline to complete the following condition assessments listed below before we review the asset management plan and make any further changes. The first one being the Ontario Structure Inspection Manual, which is due to be completed in 2025. This report provides the conditions of our bridges and culverts. The next one, the State of Infrastructure, is due to be completed in 2027. This report provides the conditions of our roads and sidewalks. The closed circuit television inspections reporting. Staff will be reviewing all previous reports from 2020 to 2024 just to be sure that we have all the inspections in our database. And as per our fleet policy, fleet condition assessments are required to be completed annually and updated in our databases. These are just a few projects that staff will be reviewing to better help our database with the most accurate information. Next slide, please. Listed are a few considerations and recommendations to better guide continuous refinement of South Huron's asset management program. First one being review the data regularly to update and maintain a complete, accurate data set. Continue developing a condition assessment strategy with a regular schedule. An example would be the fleet policy from 2024. Review and update life cycle management strategies. And review and develop short and long-term plans to meet capital requirements, followed by measuring current levels of service and identify sustainable proposed levels of service in order to expand in the future. As per the recommendation from the staff report, discussion on setting the reinvestment level will be part of the budget process in the fall. Next slide, please. And thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you for your time tonight, Ms. Rowe. Well done. Are there any questions for Ms. Rowe? Okay, not seeing any. I think you've done a great job. Thank you very much for doing that. So we have a mover and a seconder. If there's no further discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Great. 10.4.3, please.
That South Huron Council receives staff report FIN 11/2025, the tax arrears registration process for approval, and that staff implement a policy change to commence the tax arrears registration process where any part of tax arrears is owing with respect to land in the municipality on January 1st in the second year, following that in which the real property taxes becoming owing as outlined in Section 373 of the Municipal Act 2001, and that this policy change be effective as of January 1st, 2026.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, seconded by Councillor McLeod Haggett. We have Kate here for any questions and presentation if she has anything.
Good evening, Council. Through the chair, staff has presented to you this report this evening in order to give you an overall picture of the financial status of our property tax receivables and to bring awareness to the fact that staff is aware and considerate of the financial and economic stresses that our community and albeit the country at large are facing at this point in time. The purpose of the report this evening is to encourage, is not to encourage, sorry, an increase or an expansion of sale of properties through the tax sale process. What our intent here is this evening is to provide to you an opportunity to utilize a tool that is available to us to help the residents within South Huron pay their property tax debt while it's at a lower dollar value at an earlier point in time. Just as a comparison and an anecdotal response to that, you can imagine, as I'm sure all of you are credit card carriers at some point in time, and if you miss a credit card payment, it becomes a little bit more daunting to try and make that up. And you know that it takes you longer to pay that credit card off at that point once you've missed a payment. So again, the intent of this report is to make you aware of the legislative opportunity to use this tool and in turn helping our residents to bring down their debt while it's at a lower dollar value and without incurring additional penalty. Happy to take questions at this time.
Thank you very much, Kate. Councillor Wick.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Kate, for the report. Obviously, our property tax arrears are climbing, and now they're back up to pre-COVID levels. So we're no worse off than we were in pre-COVID, based on the chart in front of us anyways. My concern is all of a sudden taking it to 2 years starting January. It's a bit of a shock for anybody that's maybe on that bubble right at the moment, and whether we should be looking at more of a phase in, you know, giving it another year or something to give people time to maybe catch up quicker. We're only 6 months away from the January deadline. And so I agree, the interest clock keeps ticking if they're in arrears, but I'm not sure whether the timeline is the right timeline in my mind, going with January, or whether we should delay it another year to allow people to maybe catch up before we make it a 2-year instead of 3-year deadline. So just my thoughts.
Certainly. And just to address some of your concerns in that regard, The tax arrears registration process is not a January 1st you're expected to pay any type of arrears you have to avoid registration. There's opportunities for payment agreements. There is a lot of opportunity to discuss what budgetary wise works for a property owner so that they are able to make a monthly payment to whittle down that amount. Extension agreements are able to be entered into. But just to give you an awareness too of the magnitude of what we're talking about and how many properties we're talking about. When we started this year at January 1st, there were 30 properties eligible for tax arrears registration with a 3-year arrears position. As of today's date, there is now 9. So, and of those 9, 2 have entered into a formal payment arrangement in order to pay those off to avoid tax arrears. So it's an effective tool for one. Secondly, currently, as of today's date, there are 45 properties that are currently in a 2-year tax arrears position. So those would be the ones that would potentially have the most 2 and 3 year dollar values to try and make up within that 6-month period, which in all actuality is almost a full year because we don't actually start registration until July of the following year. Where we want to be concerned with though is the individuals or the number of properties that are sitting at the 1-year position, because should we move to a 2-year arrears position, those are the folks that will be moving into that. And there's 75 additional properties currently who are sitting at the 1 year to 2.
Councilor Rowe.
Yeah, and thank you for those numbers because that's important too. The dollars are one thing, the number of houses is a different story. The question I have is, so we've went from 30 down to 9 or whatever. How many of those went into arrears with their water and wastewater because they wanted to get their property taxes caught up? And so I'm just wondering where are our arrears on the water and wastewater side of things as well, right? So it's a fine line for both, right? So
it is a fine line, but I do want to stress to you that the water arrears are on the rise as well. And the collection policies that we currently have in place for water arrears involve a transfer to taxes. So the bulk of the properties that were at a 3-year position already have had multiple years of water arrears added to their taxes in most cases. And we're seeing a significant, more than double from 2022 in water arrears added to taxes as well.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McLeod-Haggett.
Through you, Mayor Finch, a lot of my questions are what Councillor Oak had just asked. Just wondering though, if you could give us kind of a dollar range for those, just to kind of put it in a bit more of a perspective, and then I've got a few more things.
Certainly. So overall, as of today's date, because there was a tax due date yesterday, we're sitting at a current tax receivables of $2,184,000 and change. So that's a fair chunk of change. That includes all taxes as well as all penalty accrued to date.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Dietrich.
Thank you to the mayor. Thank you, Kate. I've been waiting 2.5 years to find that information. You say 2.5 million or thereabouts, whatever, it doesn't make any difference, but we need so many dollars to run this municipality. So that means taxpayers have to make up that until this property taxes are run up to date.
Yes, and those who are currently in arrears continue to accrue penalty and interest on the arrears that are outstanding. So again, the use of the tax arrears registration tool helps to manage so that they are on a budget if necessary, if they're willing to work with that way. It also gives us opportunity. The initial phases of the property tax arrears registration involve legislated notice to spouses who may be unaware if they're not opening the mail, co-signers that may be unaware if they're not opening the mail or at a different address, mortgagees, lenders who are unaware. I mean, quite often that is the impetus for payment of arrears.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Vaughn and then Councillor McLeod-Haggett.
Yes, Kate, I just wanted some clarity. You mentioned the figure of 2,000,001 as at yesterday in terms of arrears.
Yes.
So that is the dollar amount for all arrears, whether
correct
a month in arrears or 3 years in arrears.
As of yesterday, if you were in arrears, it's in this report today. So if you didn't pay your June 15th, you're included in that.
Okay, and that also, are these all residential arrears
No.
or, so it's a mix of commercial and residential? Okay, have you, I know I didn't ask this ahead of time, but have you an idea of the mix in terms of what is commercial, what is residential of the 2 million one?
Not offhand. I would have to go back and analyze that data.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that something that is doable?
I can certainly do it. I will say that we are seeing a rise in commercial in the 3-year arrear category. But again, the exact numbers I couldn't tell you at this point in time.
Okay.
It would take some analysis.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilor McLeod Haggett?
So this really isn't a question to me, Mayor Finch, just more of a statement for all of us around the table is I believe this information will help us better understand the financial strain, as you had indicated, on our residents that they're facing. And as we approach the upcoming budget cycle, for example, as also Councillor Oak had commented on the water, wastewater billing for arrears as well, that, you know, it's been noted around the table that our water bill is kind of a coffee a day in price range, but the prices seem to be on the rise again. So I just want us to be more diligent when we're doing our budget to see when we're doing our tax increase on the burden that it's going to be putting on to our households.
Thank you. Any other comments? No. Deputy, go ahead.
Thank you. That 2.1 million, when it's in arrears, do we still keep paying the county and the school taxes?
Through the chair, that's an excellent question. County education taxes are paid to the county and to the school boards regardless of the collection status of the individual accounts. We are out that money regardless of when we collect it.
Councilor Oak?
Yeah, and that's a good point, but we're not out the money. We'll get the money and we'll get more than our share of the money because of the interest rate we're charging. So we don't want to be in the lending business, basically. That's the idea because it ties up our working capital. That's my lender hat coming out in me, but so we're not out the money. It's just we'll get the money. It someday it'll come and we get a good return on that money. The idea is we don't want to get that return. We want everybody not to be in arrears. My question was the list of municipalities that are utilizing this today. There was a couple in the county here. I guess there's 3 that are listed in here. So not all 9 municipalities or the other 8 are utilizing this at this point in time. Is that correct?
Through the chair, that is correct. I did survey all municipalities within Huron County and within our neighboring county. These are the responses that I got back. There were a few that did not respond from the county itself. So I can't speak to that. I was unable to locate that information on their websites as well.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Neeb?
Thank you, Mayor Finch. Through the chair, just originally the registration process is 3 years. We're looking at putting it down to 2 years. Is there any reason why if there's 3 or 2, like why not 1? Why not 6 months? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, fair question through the chair. The tax arrears registration process is legislated through the Municipal Act. Prior to 2017, it was at a 3-year tax arrears registration position. That's when properties became eligible. 2017 saw the passing of Bill 68, which allowed municipalities to start collecting or start the tax arrears registration process at the 2-year threshold versus 3. I don't know why it was never changed within the municipality, but the municipality of South Huron, along with many others, have continued at a 3-year threshold.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Ms. Farwell before we move on? Good job, Kate. Well done.
Thank you.
We have a mover and a second. If there's no further question, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that carries us 6. Sorry, thank you. Next item, 10.4.4.
The South Huron Council received staff report CAO 10/2025, the Council Strategic Priorities Session Workshop for information.
And a mover, please. Councilor Neeb moves it, seconded by Councilor Vaughn. Any discussion? Call Call the question, all in favor? And that carries with 6. Thank you. Notice the motion, Madam Clerk, are there any notice of motion you're aware of?
There are none.
Thank you. Number 12, any delegations from the previous meeting, the Huron County Library and Robert Brown Blake, importance of tissue and organ donation, comments from either one? Just wondering if we have anything further on item number 2 there. Chief, is there any further on that with Mr. Robert Blake?
Through you, Mayor Finch, I have not had any contact with the individual this time, but it is on my radar.
Perfect. Thank you very much. 12, nothing else. 12.2, please. Ms. Masuka.
That South Huron Council received staff memo CL memo 05-2025, and this is the update on vesting of Queen's Park for information.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, second by Councillor Oak. Any discussion? Call the question, all in favor? That carries with 7. Thank you. Next item, go ahead, 12.3.
South Huron Council received staff memo CAO memo 02-2025, South Huron Optimist Club status update, request for pavilion project for information.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Any discussion? Call the question, all in favor? And that carries with 7, please. Next item, new business. Is there any new, is there any new business at this time? Not seeing any. 14 for Mayor and Councillor comments and announcements. Are there any comments, announcements from any members of council? Councillor Vaughn.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to give a little bit of an update from the FCM conference. As you know, I wasn't at the last council meeting because I was in Ottawa in attendance. This should be brief. The conference theme this year was Stronger Together, trying to bring in the thinking of local strength being all the municipalities. And through that, we would have national prosperity supported by all levels of government. We did hear from all 4 political parties, or the ones that we typically think of in terms of the Liberals, the Conservatives, the NDP, and the Greens. The key messages that really came out amongst attendees and also from the political speakers were lack of affordability, and lack of affordability not just on housing, which we've been hearing about for many, many years, but just it's multifaceted. The cost of living, the food insecurity, the rising grocery prices, the inability of people to meet mortgage or rental payments, for housing, having to make tough choices between do I pay for my housing or do I pay for my food? All of those seem to be on the rise, and an awful lot of concern expressed by everyone at the FCM. Not a lot of solutions, but there were a few that were brought up. One of the solutions was about development charges, and we've kind of heard that from Premier Ford about development charges and the pressure to maybe we won't be charging so much. We're still waiting for some answers on that, but we also have Mark Carney talking about that now in terms of wanting to bring them down significantly. We didn't get an exact percentage, but one of the messages he gave at the same time in terms of having municipalities bring it down substantially so that we could make housing more affordable was that he was intending to do that without and make municipalities whole at the same time. He didn't exactly explain how that was going to come to be, but he gave everyone in attendance the assurance that the federal government was looking at a way to not sort of download that, if you will, to the municipalities. Wide ranges of what these DCs are doing to the affordability. In Toronto, as an example, they're stating percentages of 15% of the cost of homes is for just covering development charges in Toronto. And this charge, despite the fact that they're getting some very substantial grants for infrastructure, for repairs, for build out to accommodate new housing. So lots of new houses are being generated, but the costs are way up, and many of the political leaders are thinking development charges are the root of a lot of that. City of Vaughan has voluntarily reduced their DC charges by 50%, but they also admitted that they were quite substantial. So we're all over the map in terms of ours are not huge, but they still may be under pressure going forward from a variety of political levels. So Carney also talked a little bit about us trying to, hopefully across the municipalities in Canada, trying to get a little more innovative in terms of what we might allow for housing. So I think he's kind of looking at some of the building codes and what can we do there. He actually spoke a bit about prefab type housing, which we had more pre-World War II. We did have a number of manufacturers that actually did prefab housing, and so maybe we should be looking at other ways to bring housing onto the market. So I think stay tuned for that. So I don't think any of that is really new news, so I'll tell you a couple of other things that I observed at the conference. Every year, every FCM, we actually have an opportunity to do what's called study tours. And this year, I decided to go visit Ottawa's historic water treatment facility, just as a matter of interest. It was built in 1932, so just around the Depression area. The plant is actually beautiful. And it's hard to imagine a water treatment facility being beautiful, but it looked spectacular. It looked like a lobby of a Fairmount hotel. Were brass stair handles and marble floors and spectacular mosaic tile. The working stations to manage some of the water pools were basically green, forest green marble tile. There were about 20 of them. This atrium ceiling, everything was gleaming, polished to, you wouldn't believe it. I had a tough time looking at the beauty of this facility. The reason that they made them so beautiful back in 1932 and right as we're coming out of the Depression, and they made 6 of these across Canada, was basically a marketing spiel to basically show people that the expenditures were justified, because if you had such a beautiful building, you had to have beautiful water coming from it. So I don't know that we'll see that repeated again in these days and time constraints, but it was quite a fascinating thing to behold. FCM also saw a launch of a rural report, which was basically calling on the federal government to invest in a lot of the gaps between the financial status of what's happening in urban Canada and what's happening in rural Canada. So in many aspects, covering just the median family income, the internet or lack thereof, the transportation for some rural communities. And the whole intent of the report was to basically move the federal government, advocate to the federal government for unlocking long-term prosperity, both urban and rural. So I know we did get some emails from FCM that you may or may not have noticed that this report has come out. I'm happy to send you all a link to where that report is so you can just take a look through it. our Ontario caucus, we had the election, and just going to let you know that we're well represented from northern, eastern, southern, and central Ontario. We do have some rural representation and some big city and some medium cities. So we won't see another election for another 2 years, but that seemed to go well. We had a lot of conversation going on around interprovincial trade barriers and how many provinces are trying to actually break those down so that we don't have such an impact on the tariffs coming from the U.S. Also, too, in the last council meeting, which I wasn't here, I watched from the train. There was also a report on the status of grants for the fire station. And Rebecca had given me a heads up just before I went off on the conference. So I took the opportunity to actually chat with some people in different provinces who were attending the conference, as well as I spoke with the Green Municipal Fund people during one of their presentations. And a couple of years ago, when I had first brought back, let's take a look at going to FCM for a grant, they were more than amenable to looking at a net zero type fire hall and just being a fire hall, and they would work with us to do whatever they could for us to be able to get the green municipal funding. And since then, a couple of years have gone by, and it seems now that the flavor is a straight fire hall is not enough. It's not innovative enough. It doesn't have a hub. It doesn't have utility buildings attached to it or office space. And they're now looking to fund something that is more of a showcase, a business case. And so if we had gone ahead, I think, with looking to get the grant funding and delaying the project for 6 months or maybe even a year, we might likely not have been successful because of the change in focus. And also to the uptake in terms of funding. This year's 2025 funding was opened up early in the spring, and by April, all the money was gone. So it's being applied for very quickly. People are, they either don't have enough funds or they're quickly being snapped up. So, so anyway, I just thought I'd share that with you because that was the flavor that I was getting at the convention. And that's about it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Vaughn. Any other comments from any members of council? Councillor Oak?
Yeah, just a couple things. Last week I attended Huron Health Systems Master Planning Kickoff meeting, and well attended meeting. Probably the majority were South Huron residents there, and obviously some passion for our hospital locally, and so it was good that they reiterated the fact that there's going to be additional meetings going on, an Exeter and a Goderich meeting, among other ones as well. So stay tuned and keep your ear to the ground as far as attending future meetings as well. We'll see where things go from there. The other thing I just wanted to mention, our CEO has commented on that with some of the changes to development charges, that there might be some, well, there will be effect on South Huron collecting development charges for some projects. And so basically, I think as Rebecca put it, basically development not paying for development. So I'm just wondering if that's something that we could comment on in our delegations to maybe IO, or if we're successful in getting one, like just to comment our maybe our you know, is there another way that we can raise those funds if it's not going to be through development charges? Is there another mechanism that they could help? I know they're trying to eliminate some of this stuff to get more development built, but at the same token, it's hurting municipalities as our only one of our few areas where we can maybe raise some additional funds for projects. So just wondering if that's something that maybe could be part of our delegation package when we meet.
To the mayor, certainly we can put some information like that. And we're not the only municipality. There are many municipalities that are asking the same questions. I know the province and the federal governments are talking about grants, and it would be nice if they trickle down to us smaller municipalities, rural municipalities. A lot of them are more to transit hubs, larger cities. So anyway, it is a good, we should advocate for DCs or another or an alternative.
Councillor McLeod-Haggett.
Yes, to you, Mayor Finch. I attended the master planning last week as well in Bayfield. And as some of you know, I spent a lot of time the last month at the Exeter Hospital with one of my close friends, and I've heard a lot of chatter happening with respect to the initial speech that the one doctor said at the very beginning. He was definitely passionate in supporting his colleagues at the Exeter Hospital. And then some of the conversations and comments that were made. So I really hope that Jimmy and the board have taken away quite a bit of information as to what was said from all aspects of staff at the hospital. They're not happy. And something definitely needs to be rectified on that part, even aside from the whole master plan. So I'm excited to see where this goes, but I really hope that there's some change happening.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, well, I've got two sections here tonight. I'll start off with the first part. On June 3rd, I attended with several of our staff. Most were here tonight. Chief Becker and Stacy and Amanda, Mike and Alyssa at the South Huron High School's Career Day. Our staff did an amazing job. I gotta tell you, it's quite impressive to see the professionalism of our staff and the connections they made with the students in a one-to-one opportunity. We truly have the best staff anywhere, and who see the value in meeting with the students to discuss career opportunities in municipal government. No different than we saw tonight with Robin Denemy, the fact that she's now choosing a career in firefighting, and that's thanks to Chief Becker and his leadership. On June 5th, I, along with Joanne Bowen, toured 2 medical students around the southern part of Huron County into Blue Water, and to give them an idea of what all rural living is all about. And during the 2-hour tour, we stopped in at various places along the way. And later that day, I attended the Pride flag raising with our staff and members of the public at the Parquet. I attended the hospital gala on June 6th and am very proud of the South Huron region, what they can achieve when we work together. As a simple example, $200,000 raised in 5 minutes just from the people that were there. Healthcare is a priority for this region. We must all be aligned in pursuing advanced healthcare as a region, because the future is not just about this weekend or next year, it is about the healthcare over the next 20 to 70 years. On June 7th, I attended the Pride Festival in Goderich and was asked to speak on behalf of South Huron. It was great to see a lot of South Huron residents there taking part. And on June 9th, I attended the annual review of the Exeter Cadets held at the South Huron High School. In conversation with the leaders of the program, they expressed their thanks several times for the use of the lands near the landfill for their program. And on the 12th of June, myself and the CEO, Rebecca Masuo-Carlson, attended the Huron Manufacturing Networking event at Maelstrom Winery and met with several business leaders from across the region. I'm just going to leave the chair and ask the deputy to take the chair here, as I've got comments I'd like to make also about the Huron Health System. Deputy. So for those that attended the Huron Health System Master Planning meeting on Wednesday in Bayfield, I and many other residents have more questions now than answers after that meeting. The timeline of events makes this even more troubling. In June 2022, Jimmy True stated at a public meeting in Exeter that the South Huron Hospital Association hopes to start master planning in the fall to discuss the possibility of either building a new hospital at the new site in Exeter or redeveloping the existing hospital. He also states that the South Huron Hospital is consistently over capacity, quoting, "I would say closer to 120% occupancy. We are close to bursting at the seams and we need a bigger space," unquote. In May of 2023, he stated at CKNX News that they are looking at some master planning that will help them lay the foundation for a plan that will present to the Ministry of Health regarding the construction of a new hospital in Goderich. This story does not mention the South Huron Hospital, nor does it mention public engagement by South Huron residents. In September of 2023, you will recall that Mr. True and Mr. McNeil attended this very council asking for $500,000 every year to cover the cost of the medical clinic in Exeter and a request to form a committee to possibly building a new medical clinic in Exeter. It is abundantly clear that when Dr. Nellam spoke on Wednesday evening, it took a great deal of courage for him to do so, and he is to be commended for taking a stand and calling it what it is. He was placed in a very vulnerable position to speak from the heart on what is truly going on under the leadership of the HHS. In my view, Dr. Nellam is extremely credible, and we as a community and council need to take note of every single word he said. What was very telling was when he stated, quote, "We no longer have any confidence in the leadership of Huron Health System Board of Directors and the leadership of South Huron Hospital," unquote. To add even more credibility to Dr. Nellam was when CEO Jimmy True responded with, "I would say everything he said is true," unquote. For me, there are alarm bells going off that as the CEO, Mr. True is confirming that there is a confidence issue. I know we as council supported a new CT scanner at the South Huron Hospital and would like to know what has happened to that process. As mayor and having been present for these various meetings, I have very serious concerns as to the future partnership of the HHS, especially with respect to what has occurred by said leadership with declining morale of the hospital staff, who are to be commended for consistently taking on more and more responsibility so the hospital provides 24-hour coverage. Stand by. It is quite clear that this arrangement between the two hospitals is not working as it was supposed to, and is in rapid decline in credibility and trust within the community that uses the South Huron Hospital. Discussions with members of the public recently is being described as a mess. On Friday, I sent these news releases to Minister Thompson and informed her that in 2023, 2 other area mayors surrounding South Huron had committed to advocate with us as a regional team supporting the South Huron Hospital, and now 2 more mayors have joined with us because we know we are stronger together as a tri-county regional team advocating for South Huron Hospital. As you know, we as council have asked for a meeting with the Ministry of Health at AMO. The reality is that based on the information we have, our geographical location to being central, our unprecedented growth as a tri-county region, and that residents of the City of London make up 4 to 5% of the users of the South Huron Hospital, we are, in the truest form, a regional hospital. No different than the hospitals at Strathroy, St. Thomas, Stratford, Ingersoll, and Woodstock. We should pursue the discussion with the Ministry of Health for a new regional hospital to be built in Exeter to accommodate the growing needs of the South Huron region. I am confident members of council will support the community in this endeavor because it can take years to achieve a new hospital and we need to start somewhere. And I'm not prepared to leave anything to chance. The messaging by the leadership team of the HHS supports the statement of Dr. Nellam and the entire staff of South Huron Hospital that there is a critical confidence issue. It is not the responsibility of the doctors and nurses to save hospitals. Their job is to save lives, and it's quite clear they are very good at that. Our job as residents is to take on the responsibility at whatever level and ability we have to ensure the healthcare system in the South Huron region is protected for decades to come. We owe a great deal to Dr. Nellam for being the spokesperson on this, so let's continue to be united on their behalf. And lastly, I want to publicly commend all residents who have supported the South Huron Hospital staff and our foundation. The residents that make up our Tri-County Regional Healthcare Alliance need to be heard because their lives literally depend on it. And we as council members, our greatest responsibility is to the protection of the people who elected us. Let's make sure our voices are heard loud and clear. And I would turn to the task force members if they have any comments. Thank you. Are there any comments from task force at all at this time? Councillor, nope, nothing. Great, thank you very much.
Not at this time.
No, thank you. And thank you for attending the meeting on the 11th. That was great. Okay, if there's nothing further, We can go on to communications.
15.1, 15.2, 15.3, 15.4,
Pull that.
15.5,
Pulled.
15.6, 15.7, 15.8,
Pull.
15.9, 15.10, 15.11, 15.12, 15.13, and that includes 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, and 0.4. 15.14, and that's 0.1 to 0.9.
Okay. 15.4 and ask for that to be pulled. And it's turned over to our staff for comment first. Any comments about our friend, Mr. Timmermans?
Our manager, congratulations to him for this certified road supervision intermediate. It's a huge accomplishment and this is not a regular thing. And we did ask Shane if he would come and accept this in person. However, he declined. He'd rather be in the background. But we really truly appreciate him and his expertise.
Yes, I would totally agree with that. We're very, very fortunate to have the staff we do, and Shane exemplifies that every single day. We consistently get comments, positive comments about the work ethic of our staff, and this is just another example. So great to see this. Any other comments? Okay, thank you, Shane. If you can hear us, I know you're listening. 15.5, Councillor McLeod-Haggett, I believe.
Yes, through you, Mayor Finch, thank you. I would be looking for support from council to provide these pool passes to support the Exeter BIA. Our manager Caroline is here today, and she is doing a fantastic job with creating new programs to draw traffic to our main street of Exeter. So any way that we could support her, I would look to my friends around the table to show that support as well.
Okay, so we recommend a resolution, so I'll turn to the Madam Clerk to prepare that.
That South Huron Council approve the request of the BIA for pool passes. So that's four groupings of family pool passes. So it'll be a total of $64.
Moved by Councillor McLeod-Haggett, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Is there any discussion? Call the question, all in favor, and that carries with 7. Thank you. Next item. 15.8, Councillor Neep.
Thank you, Mayor Finch. So there's correspondence here. And we've noticed here, even in South Huron, the changes in legislation, specifically around training requirements for firefighters, but also the absence of the fire training college now, and the increasing costs that have gone along with it. And I'm just wondering if we get a comment from the fire chief as well, but also maybe support this resolution.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor Finch. Yes, Councillor Neeb, these are becoming some difficult challenges. We've been very fortunate over the last couple of years to have a great group of recruits come through our doors. Recruits that are very determined to pass their certifications. The challenge that we're going to face going forward is the increase in these certifications after their firefighter 1 and firefighter 2. As far as auto extrication, technical rescue, hazmat, these courses are becoming challenging. They're very time consuming, then they're very expensive. So the unfortunate part is that, you know, just one item on a motor vehicle accident, for instance, we need to be hazmat certified to put kitty litter on a oil spill or something that leaks out of a car. But the tow truck drivers or anyone else can do it, but we have to be certified. So this is where some of this stuff needs to be relooked at. And this letter from that we're talking about here speaks to that, on how some of these regulations are going to start affecting us. It's also going to take a look at some of the other types of rescue that we currently do and whether we can afford to do them going forward, specifically land-based water rescue. The certification, it's going to become challenging. Like I said, right now we're in a very good place, but going forward, it's going to be challenging to get these firefighters certified, especially with the closure of the college. We do have regional training centers, but those are also very hard to get into. So.
Okay, thank you. So you'll make that motion to support that, Councillor Need. Thank you. And we'll look to our Madam Clerk to prepare that.
That South Huron Council supports the Township of Black River Matheson's June 10th, 2025 correspondence and resolution regarding exemption to OREG 343-22 firefighter certification requirements, and that the supporting resolution and originating documentation be circulated to the Premier of Ontario, Solicitor General, and PP Thompson, the Fire Marshal, AMO, FON, OM, and all Ontario municipalities.
So moved, Councillor Need.
So moved.
Seconded by Councillor Oak. Is there any further discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Thank you. Very good. Ms. Masul calls and recommendation, please.
That South Huron Council receive communication items not otherwise dealt with.
Moved by Councillor Neeb, second by Councillor Oak. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carries with 7. Thank you. There is no closed session. Therefore, no reporting from closed session. 17.1, please.
That South Huron Council gives first, second, third, and final reading to Bylaw 38/2025, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a pre-servicing agreement between the municipality of South Huron and Windermere Community Limited in the municipality of South Huron in the county of Huron.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, seconded by Councillor Dietrich. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? That carries with 7. Thank you. 17.2.
That South Huron Council gives first, second, third, and final reading to Bylaw 39/2025, being a bylaw to amend Bylaw 52/2022 to appoint municipal law enforcement officers and property standards officers for the municipality of South Huron.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Neeb. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? That carries with 7. Thank you. And 18.1.
That South Huron Council gives first, second, third, and final reading to Bylaw 40/2025, being a bylaw to confirm matters addressed at the June 16th, 2025 council meeting.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, second by Councillor Dietrich. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Thank you. And 19.
That South Huron Council hereby adjourns at 7:57 PM to meet again on July 14th, 2025 at 6 PM or at the call of the chair.
Moved by Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Neeb. No discussion. Call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Thank you very much. And thank you everyone for attending this evening.